Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Paulie Eyes of Carbondale, the official coaches show of Saluki Athletics. Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
We welcome everybody back to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Paulie Eyes of Carbondale. We start off with the head coach, Lance Rhodes, for Saluki baseball. Saluki's coming off what was a thrilling win on Tuesday against SEMO. All those games, by the way, Coach Rhodes, run together from Missouri State to SEMO. In the broadcast, I'm like, game one of that series, which actually no, it was game one of the doubleheader, game two of the doubleheader, game three of the series. It's glad that we got through that three-day window there.
Yeah, I'm just glad we were able to get the games in.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of college baseball now. A lot of turf, being able to have the flexibility to move games with 3-day windows and things like that, which is ultimately what we're trying to do as a league, is just to be able to allow our student athletes to get the experience of playing the games. And good thing was Missouri State was very flexible. They had a travel day to go all the way to K-State afterwards, so they easily could have, not wanted to push it back. And they were willing to get in the conference games, knowing that not only did us two teams need to get those games in, but our league needed the games in, just so we could look back at the end of the year and the standings were true. You could get the seedings paired how they needed to be paired. And didn't have to go into a winning percentage type of situation because of us not playing all the games. So I'm happy that we got them in. It was a very competitive series. I think our guys are better for playing it. And, it was nice. It almost kind of felt like you were back in summer ball or pro ball where you're just playing every day.
Yeah.
And so it was nice.
Before we get into more baseball conversation, we'll get in the Missouri State series and recapping SEMO a little bit. I know it's been a tough, really, day for Saluki Nation with the passing of Dennis Rotchen, who was at the game on Tuesday, was watching the Salukis rally against SEMO and suffered a stroke out on the hill. He ultimately passed on Wednesday. He obviously has been just a huge pillar for Saluki baseball through the years, Saluki athletics in general. His hands touched Saluki athletics all over the place. I know in your time here, Coach Rhodes, he was a man that you got to know. I know the family as well. Just know all of our thoughts are with him. It's never easy to deal with any sort of death, especially when it was a sudden for Dennis on Tuesday.
Yeah, just kind of, shocking news, honestly. And I didn't know anything was going on during the game. There wasn't anything up on the hill that looked out of the ordinary. But it's just one of those things where it's kind of just like a disbelief, It's just he's part of that Hill gang that's there every single game that we play. They stop in in my office periodically, probably 3 or 4 times a year, have conversation, just kind of discuss what's going on with the Hill. Obviously, they do a lot of things from the standpoint of helping raise money for our program. And, Dennis was a huge contributor in, making our field pop with the new video board. And, it's just sad news. Whenever you lose somebody that loved Saluki baseball as much as he did, you just never want that to happen. And the Hill gang will never be the same, but I'm sure, we've got to do some things as a program to honor that legacy, and I'm going to try to get with some of the members of the Hill gang and see what we can come up with and try to honor in a way that would be good for him and the family, and hopefully we can do something pretty special.
I know in his family, his son John, who we work with very closely and does so much for Saluki Radio in terms of when we travel and to make sure we get to travel well, and just that family is such first class. I know he posted on Facebook. I know he shared in a conversation with you too where for them, and I'm glad they're in good spirits as they can be, there probably would be no better place that his dad would have wanted to be than just the irony of that it happened while he was literally watching Saluki baseball on the Hill, surrounded by what he considers his family too, which is that Hill gang, just such a really close group.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things where a lot of times you don't get to go out doing something that you love. And, for him to be up there with those guys up on the Hill gang, because I know they had such a tight unit up there with the support, the grilling of the, up there, the grilling of the meat, and just taking donations and ringing the bell up there whatever time we score, and just all those things. And it means a lot whenever you have people that are so invested into the program and want to see us win. I mean, they wanted us to win as much as our players, us as coaches wanted to win. And I feel like, you kind of just feed off that. Every time you look up the hill and you see them up there, it's a great feeling that they're back. And, just thinking about the family and hopefully, if there's anything that, our university or our program can do, just hope the family knows that they could always reach out to us anytime.
No question. Thoughts and prayers continue to be with Dennis's family at this time. Let's transition back to your team. So let's start with the Missouri State series. After Sunday, when you get run ruled, one of the biggest things I asked you at the batting cage on Monday afternoon was, hey, what was your message? And you said, you just got to compete more with our bats. And I don't think there was any question for those next two games. It may have not been the script exactly you wanted to follow, but your team, I think, responded to your message on Monday, Coach Rhodes.
Yeah, and not only was it just offensively, it was more just anytime you get yourself in a situation where you get to play a game where you're in first place with another team, or it's two teams at the top of the standings, as a competitor, like, those are what you dream of.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't happen every weekend and things like that. So it's one of those things where on Friday or Saturday or Sunday,
yes.
whenever you come out and you don't, like, rise to the occasion, it's almost just kind of like a disappointment, because you're like, we don't get these every day we play. We don't get this type of game. And I just wanted our guys the next day to come out and just rise to the occasion, be a true competitor, whether it was a win or a loss. But there's something about the way that it looks, the way that it feels. And I feel like we did that the back half of the first game on Monday. And it kind of again on the back half of the second game on Monday too. And again, I think our players are fully aware that we want to get going earlier. Like we mentioned, we've talked about it, and hopefully we will. The good thing is they are doing some special things, the second half of games, and we could definitely make it a lot easier on ourselves if we would just start it a little bit earlier.
I think by the end of the season, if these are how the games are always going to go, that beard you have is going to get a little gray.
Yeah. Ultimately, we're winning them.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm sure from a fan's perspective, it's probably kind of fun to be a part of, because you just never know what's going to happen at the end of the games. But yeah, from the coaching side of it, man, it kind of worries you a little bit.
It does, no doubt. And from a broadcasting side, that's exciting. So know that you're helping the ratings, Coach Rhodes. But we can have them not be as tense in the late moments. Of course, to rally, as you said, specifically in Game 3 of the series against Missouri State, was a lethargic, low-energy start. We'll talk to Tim Samay later on in the show as well and get his thoughts on it. But, what stood out to you of what did you feel in that third game got it flipped? Like, when was the moment where you're like, all right, I'm encouraged. Like, we may not be up right now on the scoreboard, but I like the trajectory we're going compared to where it was.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that, like, their bullpen had some injuries, and I knew if we could just get some guys up in their bullpen, that eventually we were going to get to the back end of that pen. And, I like our chances with our offense ability against the back half of anybody's bullpen. And I'm sure everybody in college baseball feels that way. And we got to that point where, they were having to use some guys that, they don't necessarily use all the time. And, our offense was able to take advantage of that. And, the big thing again that I keep always stressing is with the way that our lineup is if we can get a guy or two on base, however that is, a big hit by pitch, a walk, a single, we are one swing away from being right back into the game. And, John kind of did that with that big swing. And, some guys worked really hard to get on base in front of him. And then he took advantage of, getting a good fastball to hit and throw that ball out of the park. And then all of a sudden, we're right back in it. And then the energy changes and things like that. So that's the nice thing about kind of the structure of our team is that even though it looks like we're out of it for a little bit, like we are just a base runner or two and a swing away from being right back where we need to be.
And that's why even, kind of taking a step back to what was game 2 of the series, game 1 of the doubleheader, you don't want to give up a 4 spot in the top half of the 10th inning, but yet still you apply a lot of game pressure with your lineup in the bottom of the 10th, bringing the tying run up to the plate.
Yeah, and I was really proud of our team. And that was a tough thing. We were kind of right there. We had a chance to win it in the bottom of the 9th, didn't get it done. They come back in the top of the 10th, and they do some damage to us there in the 10th, and then our guys come back and they put all the pressure on, and they're in a situation to where, we're one swing away from being able to tie the game. And honestly, I thought Petro had a really good at-bat, and I don't think the call lost us the game by any means. I was disappointed in the strike call. I thought it was a ball that was pretty low outside the strike zone. And where I'm probably most disappointed is I would have liked to have our guys have the opportunity. Like if that ball would have been a ball, we would have had another at bat.
And Jordan Bach on deck.
With the chance to have the winning run at the plate right there, it would have been nice to have the players decide the game, and nothing against the umpiring right there. I mean, it's a tough call. In the heat of the moment, a lot of things going on, anxiety everywhere, and but I did think Petro did the right job. I thought it was ball, and I think he took. If he swings at that pitch, all he can do is pound that ball on the ground. And unfortunately, just the call went against us. And but there's a lot of things that we did prior to that call that put us in that situation.
Before we look ahead to Indiana State, just your team as a whole, when you look at kind of like the situations and the breakdown of your team, what's really impressive is you see this is a group that when you're in front, it's not a team that typically has blown leads. You find a way when you're in front, you stay in front, you close out games. But you've also had the ability to show, you know what, it doesn't matter if it's after 6, after 7 innings. If you're behind, tied, you find a way to grit teams out and win. So even though you want maybe a little bit more earlier success in games, at the same time, that's got to be a huge characteristic to have because, Coach Rhodes, it's almost like any time in college baseball when you get past the 7th inning, just throw kind of how the game's gone at that point because that's when craziness really ensues in the sport.
Yeah, I think the sport is just different now where it's tough to pitch in college baseball right now. I mean, the balls are really good balls to hit. I mean, they're juiced up. The bats are good. And the kids are older. They're physical. They're strong. They've been around college baseball forever. And so it's kind of an era where it's tough to navigate through offenses and not give up runs.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of like how our team has been too, where you get us in our 3rd or 4th at bat, we're pretty tough to get through there without giving up a couple runs. And so I think our team is in a good spot from that side of it where we are. We're not quitting on games, which is awesome to see. And when we do have that lead, our bullpen has been able to, kind of pin them down on the ground and not let them back in.
I know every lineup, when you really look at it and you can look at numbers, there's always going to be where it's situational hitting, who the arm is, the matchup, all of that plays a factor. And a lineup can look completely different depending on all of those different metrics. And even more so, that's not even taking account of the ballpark you're in, the weather that day, all of those things. But your team this year at times have had some really big parts of your lineup struggle against lefties this year. When it's clear as day, it says it analytically, numbers-wise. How do you as a leader approach that with those guys specifically and know you still have the utmost belief in them? And at some point in time, not saying that numbers got to completely flip, but how you help them at least perform better in those moments.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've talked about as a staff. Like, we're not just going to ignore it. We're not going to try to hide from the numbers and, be afraid to bring it up, to some of our hitters because we're like, man, we don't want to make it worse, right? I think we just got to hit it head on, and we're definitely working on it. The early work that we did, we were out on the field doing early work prior to SEMO. We knew we weren't even facing a left-hander, but we were working on lefty matchups. It's something that we know we need to get better at. And, honestly, teams have been trying to expose us from that. They've been, we've had a couple midweek starters that probably wouldn't have started other than the fact that they threw left-handed. We're getting a bunch of left-handers out of the bullpen coming in after our guys. And, so it's just a thing that we know, and we're going to continue to work on. And our guys are fully capable of doing it and getting it done. And, I have trust in them. The good thing is we have the ability to move guys up and down in the order. We don't just have to have a same lineup. And if we've made some adjustments in some of those things where we've slid some of those lefties down to the bottom, just to try to, get some more righties, or some lefties have had more success up at the top that might get that extra at bat against those guys. So we have some flexibility to kind of maneuver our lineup if needed.
Let's look towards Indiana State this weekend. Tracy Archuleta, who you've gone up against when he's been at Southern Indiana, so it's not like it's a completely unknown, but he takes over for Mitch Hannes there in Terre Haute. When you look at what Indiana State has been in the past under Coach Hannes, it's always kind of been a program, and even under Coach Warren way back in the day, even Coach Eller, very blue-collar, going to be a group that's going to be absolute gritty and just battle you for all 9 innings. What do you make of Coach Archuleta's group and what his characteristics have shown within his version of Indiana State this year?
Yeah, I think when you look at them, they've got a Friday night starter that's really good, and he's had a really good season for them. He's, I think the last 5 times he started, their team's won 4 of the last 5 starts that he's had. So obviously he's given them a really good outing every time he goes out there on Friday. So we'll have to battle against him. And they've got a freshman that's throwing on Saturday that's been really good for them too. And then you kind of look at some of their best players. They've got a couple players that have been behind all those really good players that, Indiana State played over the last 3 or 4 years. Those guys have been in the program. They just hadn't got many at-bats. And now they're getting their opportunity, and they're kind of running with that opportunity. And I think those guys are playing like they are because they're just so, they've been waiting forever to get into the lineup, and they're just playing really well. And so it's I think it's going to be another tough weekend. I think, you look at all the teams, you look at the standings, everybody's just kind of jumbled up there with, 5-4, 4-5, 6-3. And I think it just the parity of the league. And I think the teams are starting to play like we all thought they were capable of playing. It just took them a little bit longer to get going. So right now in the middle part of the season, teams are starting to play to their capability. And I think that's why everybody's kind of beating up everybody right now.
And it's why it's those tough starts, as we talked about either a week ago or 2 weeks ago, when from the numbers, I know metrics and RPI and all that may not look great. That's why, man, those games in February, March are so big, because you have so much respect for all of these teams. You're better than what that RPI number says, especially Missouri State over the weekend. It's just why it puts a lot of stress on you guys as coaches in February and March to take advantage of those early starts.
Yeah, we definitely need good starts as a league, but also I think, where you can see that our league is actually better than what the numbers show. Yes. Is we've had a lot of success in midweeks lately, and that's kind of the only outside competition that we get now, because all the games that we play are just within each other. But, we've got a lot of teams that are knocking off non-conference opponents right now in the midweek, and some really good midweek wins too. And I think that's showing you where our league is at right now.
No question. When you look at from a Saluki perspective this weekend, Coach Rhodes, it's all about this weekend in Terre Haute. You also know, I believe, the next 6 games in league play, the next 2 weekends, you're going to get at home. So when you have an opportunity to go on the road to take care of business, I know it's a big deal for you guys as a group. What do you just really preach to your guys before you get on the bus today to head to Terre Haute?
The biggest thing is we are in a situation where, we've got to make up ground. That's something that we discussed over the weekend after losing the series to Missouri State, where when we look at going into a weekend, we know that if we want to finish in first place, that we're not going to be able to lose many more series. So we know we need to win a series pretty much from now on out. But we also have to put ourselves in a position to where we sweep a series, and maybe sweep a couple series, in order to surpass Missouri State, because we know that we can't just have the same record as Missouri State because they have the tiebreaker over us. So we've got to not only get even with them to have a chance to have co-champions, but we don't want co-champions. We want to win one more game than they do, and it might not even be Missouri State. It could be another team that we're battling for. I think we've got several teams that I think have a chance to be at the top of our league. So I by no means am I already crowning Missouri State, at the top of it. But with them sitting up there now, we've got a couple games to gain on them, and that's going to mean we need to sweep at some point. So every game's priority starts with game one. We can't sweep without winning game one. But it's just the urgency of really taking care of weekends.
And then when you have half the league within 2 games of each other, and again, you're only through 3 weekends, there's a lot of baseball to go.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a good spot. We're happy where we're at, but I mean, you look at it. I mean, you're one weekend from staying at the top, and you're one weekend from being down there in about 6th or 7th place. So it's it's a very good competitive environment right now within our league.
We have Tim Sumay coming on the show here after you. Just Tim, you think of his experience level. He's been on a national championship team in Ole Miss in 2022. So he has seen the sport at the pinnacle. Even though he didn't play a ton that year for Ole Miss, he was around it. What did you see from him before he entered the portal, but of course went to a junior college in between here in Ole Miss? But what did you notice where you're like, I think this is someone that we really need to be a part of our program?
Well, there's just not many times you get a shortstop that's as physical as he is. So when we were looking at the opportunity to bring in somebody that we thought could play the position defensively, because that was our main priority, is we really needed somebody that could command the defense there. We knew that he could do that, but we also liked that he brought an offensive element to the position as well. And so he was definitely a high priority for us when we knew we had a chance to land him, and I think he's kind of shown that this year, where he's been playing a very solid shortstop over the last probably month or so, and he's slowly kind of etched his way up in the lineup to being in that middle of the order there, where he's been very consistent, and he's done it in a variety of ways. A little bit of power here. He's been consistent as far as driving guys in. He's stolen bases in a timely manner, and he's got a personality on the field. He kind of just he's talkative, and he's engaged in the game, and he has a lot of things that you would want your shortstop to bring to the table.
I'll tell you what, I was a little worried when he laid down that bunt against SEMO and his fist bump down the side by the dog pound. I thought he was going to throw his shoulder out or something. That was an impressive fist bump now when he got on the back.
Our offense, we haven't bunted a ton this year. And, in that moment, to be able to just put that ball down right there, I'm not going to lie, I was a little worried from the dugout because, man, that first baseman was so on top of him. And I was almost thinking of yelling out there right before the pitch to tell him just to take it off, because if he would have went back to the pitcher or even to first base a little bit, we're out at third base, not even close. And maybe he saw that out of the corner of his eye, and we were trying to go to third base.
Yeah.
But for him to make sure that he got it in that direction, and for him to just put it right there, I mean, it is as good as bunt as you could get, and it was just a big moment right there too. And
it was.
But going back to the dog pound, I mean that was just such an awesome environment, for a Tuesday night game. Hopefully our weather stays the course over the next month of our season, and we would just love to see the crowds like that, and it does factor into the game. And it means a lot to our players. It means a lot for just the environment of the ballpark. But Tuesday night was awesome, and hopefully when we get back to playing some home games down here the next couple weeks, we can have similar crowds, because it means a lot to our guys.
Where was the weather today? All last weekend. We could have
we talk about this as coaches. I feel like we have beautiful days to practice on, man. And our off days are gorgeous, and then you get a game and it tends to drop down in the 40s, and But no, hopefully we'll have some good weather down the stretch and have some great crowds and play good baseball. There's going to be a lot of meaningful games, so it's going to be good games to watch, and it should have a lot of intensity with the games because everybody we play is in a similar situation than we are. I mean, it might be a game or two off, but everybody feels like they have a fighting chance to get to the top of the standings right now. So it's gonna be some intense games.
No question about it. It starts in Terre Haute on Friday, 5:30 Central Time, first pitch. All the games this weekend will be on the Valley on ESPN. Coach Rhodes, appreciate the time. Good luck this weekend in Paradise.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, that was head coach Lance Rhodes. We'll take a time out. When we come back, Tim Samay joins us from Saluki Baseball. Welcome, everybody, back to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Polly Eyes of Carbondale. He's been a hero as of late. He's been playing well for the Saluki Dogs. So great to have him his first full year here in Carbondale. It's Tim Samay. Tim, thanks so much for taking time, man. How are you today?
Hey, man, thank you for having me. I'm great, man. I have class after this, but hey, we're being studious too, man. It's all
Hey,
good.
you student-athlete, Tim Samay. Still getting classes done, still getting the academics done. That's always great, Tim. But
Sure.
like I said, this year, I know the SEMO game was a lot of fun earlier this week. Of course, very compacted, a lot of games at Itchy Jones Stadium. How did you feel you guys handled it? Knowing, I know, disappointment not winning the series against Missouri State, but a lot of baseball in a short amount of time, Tim. How did you guys as a team handle this past weekend?
Obviously it sucks that we didn't win it, but Rhodes had a talk with us before our third game that we did end up walking off, telling us how, even though we might lose, even though we lost the series, it's don't take it for granted. Every win counts in conference because you never know what could happen down the road. So, we just took that and we rode with it, and we had a positive mindset. And thankfully and luckily, we did win that game, which was good because we started off flat, started off with low energy, and then in the dugout, we had a good pep talk like we usually do, and ended up turning around towards the end, which was good for us.
One of the common threads within this season, Tim, has been you guys aren't a team that has been known to blow leads. When you get up and you're able to stay in front, typically that means good things for the Salukis. But you've also shown the ability of, if things don't get off to a great start, you have the ability to come from behind. What is it about this team that just uniquely here recently it's been, hey, we're turning it on late. We find ourselves to get going late, just trying to get that maybe a little bit earlier in games?
Obviously, it's fun to do it at the end because it's fun when you're coming back and doing all that stuff. But honestly, I think it's just it's focusing, because we're already really good hitters. Our pitchers do a really good job of commanding the zone, keeping us in the game as long as we need to be, and I just think it's really just a focus thing and being more competitive in the batter's box because our coaches do a really good job at giving us those scouting reports for the game as far as what the pitcher's tendencies are, what to look for, and stuff like that. So I just think moving forward, we compete well, just turning on a different gear, and seeing where it takes us from there, as far as scoring early, because obviously that really helps our pitchers.
And it also helps, the broadcaster on the heart, too,
right.
All of us. So I know you guys enjoy coming back late, and those are fun, but you can make it easier.
Right, yeah, a lot of stress, I know.
With this team, you guys have hinted at so much throughout the year of really good chemistry, enjoy being around one another, and it's not always the norm when you have so many different guys that have transferred into a program and have shared experiences. But what is it about you guys day-to-day, Tim, that really makes this group come together, mesh, and when you're around yourselves, it does feel like this has been a team that's been around each other for multiple years?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the ages with a lot of our guys. A lot of our guys are juniors, seniors, been through college. A lot of us have been on winning teams, so we understand what it takes to win, And a big part of that is team chemistry. Like playing Mafia on the bus, just in the locker room, having fun after our wins, celebrating our wins, talking about our losses, and, just picking each other up on and off the field, being there for each other off the field, stuff like that. Like, it's really good when you can come together as a team, not even just on the baseball field, and doing stuff like off the field.
When you think of your college experience, Tim, your freshman year, you go to Ole Miss, you're in a national championship, and you win a national championship. What do you remember about that experience that you hold on to, that you try to implement currently with this Saluki team?
One of the biggest things is one of the coach would always tell us to, like, enjoy the ride, because it's not always going to be like great, and you're going to have like times where you're just like you're not doing well, and you just have to find a way to keep pushing and find a way to get back on the win column. Because like we start off really hot that year, like we are right now, like we're doing really good, and then the year that Tennessee was really, really good. They gave it to us, and that set us back, and then we went through a very bad stretch, and everyone thought we were done at that time. So it was good to see like how the guys handle the older guys as just a freshman. It's like, you're never out of it. You just got to keep pushing, got to keep taking it day by day, and stuff like that. Where you gotta be tough. You gotta be mentally tough, knowing it's going to be difficult because winning is hard. And when you're losing a lot, like you just fall into that. So yeah, stuff like it helped me a lot, like knowing that even if things aren't going well for me, like it did in the beginning of the season. Just to keep pushing, to keep taking it day by day, because I know how good of a player I am. I know the potential. I know what I could bring to this team. So it's just stuff like that helped me a lot.
Being on this team, obviously with your brother, Matt, who is here, your younger brother, what's this experience been like for you guys? Of course, you were on the same junior college team as well before coming in, but to now share this experience at Division I school, how special has that been?
I mean, it's great, man. We've been together for like forever, like even like 8U. He would always play up. He'd play with me. In high school, my senior year, he would play with me, and then obviously, like you said, JUCO. And in here, it's just good. It feels great because I can be a great mentor to him, teach him, the ways of like how it is to be a D1 athlete, how it was to be a JUCO athlete, and how it was being just college in general. Because it is different than high school, and it's a lot of stuff to balance. And it's good being that role model for him for when I am gone. That he'll, hopefully he learns from my footsteps and just continues to make the team better and better.
You brought up that point. When I've been around the batting cage or hearing guys talk, they speak so highly of Matt. And like, this is a guy who's got a lot of potential down the road. Why do teammates and everybody say that? Because people just don't say those things, Tim. Like, they're saying it for a reason. What is it about the potential and down the road and the work ethic and everything about Matt that has his future really bright?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really special kid, man. He has a lot of height. I'm trying to put weight on him. We'll get there one day with him, trust. But yeah, no, he's just a really good athlete. He has a really good swing, really fast, very versatile. He could play infield and outfield. Like, it's just everything about him. It's just once he puts on a little bit of mass, it's going to take his game to the next level. And everyone can see it. Like arm strength, glove, bat, all of it.
Not everybody can have the mass like you, Tim.
Yeah.
So that's hard. You're hard to get to that level. So everyone's striving to get that level, though. This weekend, of course, Indiana State, another weekend on the road within the Missouri Valley Conference. But now that you guys are, you're through trying to have a normal weekend for the first time, I believe, since Morehead State. Haven't had that since a Friday, Saturday, Sunday matchup. But regardless of those things that you can't control, what do you believe this team right now, in terms of you guys as the Salukis, are doing really well, Tim, heading into this weekend?
Like one of the things, like you just said, is focus on the controllables. Like, we can't control the weather, obviously. We can't control the other team. What we control is how well we play. I was always told it's not about the best team, it's about the team that plays the best. And we have been a team that, for the most part, has been playing better than the teams that we've been playing, even though I believe we are better than the teams that we have been playing. So it's just a mindset going into the weekend, is knowing that all we got to do is play to our best ability, and whatever we control, we can control.
You talked about your time back at Ole Miss, where there were parts of the season where you got really hot. There were parts of the season that were a little down. Point being, there's still a lot of baseball left in the season, Tim. How do you, as a veteran, and look, you're a team that's made up of a lot of veterans, as you mentioned, but just bring that presence of, look, there's always going to be that sense of urgency you want at the park. You can't let a weekend go by because you guys want to compete and win a conference championship, but also know, hey, there's still a lot of innings still to come for this group.
Yeah, it's just keeping the focus up and being consistent. I believe is like one of the best things about being a baseball player is how often you have to show up to the field and be consistent, because it is a long season. I mean, we play the longest season in any sport. So, like, you got to know that not every day is going to go your way, and it's just how you bounce back and how you compete. That's all.
Tim, appreciate the time coming by, spend some time with us, especially right before class. Good luck this weekend, man. It's going to be fun to watch you in Terre Haute.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Once again, that was Tim Semay. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we got more coming up here on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Poly Eyes of Carbondale. Welcome, everybody, back to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Poly Eyes of Carbondale. We're getting closer to the month of May, which means the track and field championships will be here before you know it. Someone who's a part of the Saluki track and field program, assistant coach Jake Brightston, joins us here on the program.
Yep.
Coach, it's good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too.
Glad we were finally to work through all the contractual stuff. You're a hard guy to get a hold of, and to get some time here to come on the show. So it's much appreciated.
This is pre-recorded for anyone wondering. That's how we're able to make it work.
There you go. You're already ruined the tricks of the show, man. Right from the start.
Yeah. We can't take any listener questions just for that. I know the phone lines will be blowing off. Just off the charts.
Yes, off the charts. Yeah. So if you're tweeting at us right now, just know this is pre-recorded. Yeah. So Coach has already ruined that magic here on Thursday afternoon. But Coach, how's the season been to this point in the spring? I know we caught up with Coach Jones last week. Again, you got about a month here in between when you get to conference championship time that you're going to host. So how would you describe the season at this point for your group that you oversee?
We were supposed to host last weekend, and anyone in the local area knows it rained pretty much from Thursday until Sunday. So we made the call to postpone the meet, or cancel the meet, I guess, because we couldn't find another weekend for it. So what that allowed us to do is we picked up SIUE on our schedule this weekend. So we're going to see a lot more people really get their seasons going. I know, our first meet at Ole Miss was really just our first week back from conference, like a 3 or 4 week layoff. So we've been able to get a couple weeks of good training in. So we're hoping that SIUE is a good opportunity for us to really reemerge and kind of see, where we left off from indoor and really have some people, especially in the outdoor events, like we have discus throwers, we have javelin throwers, we have 400-meter hurdlers. So you add some different events in there that we're pretty strong at. So it's nice to get people some more opportunities in there. Because, that first meet at Ole Miss, they're getting the jitters out. Yeah. SIUE should be a really good one, though.
Talk about, and not necessarily talk about, let me ask you a question. Yeah. When you think of this season as a whole, everyone looks at maybe outdoor, indoor. Yeah, they're two separate seasons because there's two separate championships. But from the training standpoint of what the fall looks like, trying to carry that over into the winter, and then ultimately once you go from indoor to outdoor, to not there be a whole lot of changes, like what is the year like and trying to make sure you're at your best throughout all of those times?
Yeah, so without getting too scientific, you kind of look at like a double periodization model where we're peaking for indoors, but really that peak is to set up a higher outdoors. It's just the nature of it. We train all fall to really get a good kind of foundation of things, and you go to indoor. We try to have the first kind of peak be there, and then that one really provides a higher level for that outdoor. You really want the peak to be a baseline. So you kind of drop off some of the intensity there. Indoor is always challenging, just that, you don't see anybody from finals week until we get back in January, and you're right into it. So, you're hoping they're training on their own, hoping they're training at their high school indoor track if they have one, or whatever you're trying to make happen. So you're really front-loading the training with a lot of things you can't do, especially in technical events before you get back out there in January. So by the time you go from indoor to outdoor, it's such an easier transition just because you're going outside. They have favorable winds for the most part. You're really in a good rhythm from the indoor, and you're in a good spot fitness-wise. So when you're in those that early March training, you're at such a high level in terms of your speed and power levels that training becomes much, much better. So now it's just managing the outdoor stuff, and hopefully just goes better outside.
You have experience, of course, here at Southern, being here for a couple of years now, but previously coming in from Missouri State. So you've seen the Valley from multiple different angles.
Yeah.
What about now being a part of this program have you really enjoyed?
I think Jones is just the first thing that comes to mind, right? Like top down kind of leadership. He sets the tone. So we are, we talk about being speed and power, and I'm a big part of that as the assistant coach over the jumps. But it's nice to not be like the guy in that regard. Like Jones is the one that like sets the tone with the speed and power. Like we're not asked to have jumpers sprint a whole lot to cover weaknesses, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we have such great sprinters, and especially on the women's side, like we're not asking pole vaulters. We're not asking, our multis get to be true multis. They're not trying to run the 400, 4x4 kind of stuff to really cover up any gaps. And like, when you're in the field and you look over at the track, we're going to have people in the finals and everything. So just kind of keeps the adrenaline really high. So I think that's a great part. Facilities here are great. I'd say the talent area of like Southern Illinois when it comes to recruiting and kind of the lifeblood of the team. There's just so much talent in this area, and especially we've kind of had an influx of that kind of go. So we have a lot of young people that are really solid, and our first kind of class that's now juniors were people that were freshmen when Jones took over and I got here. So they're our leadership now. So we're able to have just this culture that is truly ours at this point, and I love it.
And the other thing that, or I should say, one of the aspects that also stood out to me when I transitioned here to Southern was just when you're out and about in the community and how much Saluki logos in maroon you see throughout. And it's not just you see it, there is legit support behind you, and they care about not just what happens in Banterra in terms of basketball or Saluki Stadium for football. Like, they're invested in everything in Saluki athletics. Was that something for you that was like, it's a little different than places you have been? Absolutely.
Like the officials at meets are people that competed here in the past, like, or you go to meets and somebody's like, oh, I'm a Southern, like a coach for a high school coach is like, there's a reverence that they have for our program, which makes recruiting and all that stuff so much easier. Yeah. And it's just like like if you're at the grocery store, you say you coach track here, people are like, whoa, really? Like their ears kind of perk up. And like when I was in Oklahoma, it was similar to that as well. But like you're in Norman, Oklahoma, and it's like the show there. And it's nice to be almost the same thing here. I know it's, football's a little bit different where, 85,000 people at that stadium, but like being a track coach here is probably similar, if not a little bit more high profile, just because of the nature of Saluki track. Like, it carries weight. Like people, like when Deanna goes and sets the world record in the hammer throw or weight throw, like people in the area know that, so they associate so much like success that's happened with this program. So they're like, oh, well, you're part of that. So it creates it creates a good pressure to have.
Well, you talked about speed and power. I know last year at the conference championships, obviously the triple jump was just a huge moment for the program, a huge event for the program. But he finished 1, 3, 6, and 7 in that triple jump last year. Darius Fuller was a big reason why. Yeah. What have you seen from him of last year? Not to say that was the first year for him coming on the map, but to have the type of success he did, to now turn around and try to have similar success here in 2025.
So that was a junior college guy that we got from recruiting another junior college guy. We had a kid that commits to Houston. And as he calls me on the thing, he's like, hey, coach, like, you're my guy, but, Houston's calling me. They got, all this stuff's there. And I'm like, hey, it's all good. He's like, you need a triple jumper? This guy's a high jumper. You need a triple jumper? And I'm like, yeah, we probably could use one. He's like, hey, watch Darius again. And he sends me, film of this guy who's like, Darius is like 6'1", strong, looks the part, looks like a Texas triple jumper. And I'm watching him go, and I'm like, yeah. And he comes in, he improves by almost 3 feet from his junior college mark to what he finished up last year. I think it depends on how you consider win-weighted marks, non-win-weighted marks, but
is that one of the bigger jumps you've seen in your time coaching in terms of improvement within a year? Is that rare?
It's Darion did the same thing almost, which was our guys went 1 and 3 did very similar there, but it was nice to see it, right? Because you kind of expected in events like triple jump. There's the ones that grown man strength really helps. Like Darius has grown man strength. Darion has grown man strength. Like you watch them in the fall, if you're looking down in the weight room, these guys are putting 400 pounds on their back and squatting it. So when you can raise those levels, it makes their technique even better as well. So it's not something you expect, but like it's something that you welcome, and it's something that with how those two work as well, it made sense in the process. Like it didn't feel like it wasn't coming from pretty much October on. It was like, okay, Darius hasn't jumped it yet, but he's a 50-footer.
What's the best part of the personalities
Uh-oh.
within the group? Because we were having this discussion last week of, hey, there are a few where if you're like, hey, Luke, if you say you want to do an interview with them, like they would run here like right now.
Oh, absolutely. Just within my group alone, I don't have to do much of like anything. Like like I get to be the coach in there, but like we have the hype up person, we have the people that keeps everyone humble, we have the people that kind of bring the like every bit that you probably expect. Like we have people that are like technical perfectionists, and like they're never satisfied with that. So if you're training with somebody who's like asking about really meticulous things that are like deep in there, like you can't just be like, oh, did I jump far? So there's a lot of like the culture of that really stems together. They get along really well. I don't have to give them like big pep talks because they're just like, come on, y'all, like we got this, like we got to do this and that, and it's just an easy balance to do, and they are very themselves as well. Like they're not cookie cutter, if that makes sense. Like if you brought them in here, you wouldn't be like, oh, like you would know they're a jumper by their energy that they have in the events that they do, but not that like they have the same hobbies outside or they're from the same backgrounds or really anything other than just like they just try to jump as far as they can or as high as they can and like try to be part of a cohesive unit.
It's very hard, and I think at any level and for any of the sports, especially, I think everyone to an extent understands the level of difficulty of going from high school to college, but especially at our level in the Division I hemisphere, and to see freshmen come in and have impacts right away isn't always what you will see. But man, you've had some impact young guys join your team this year. Andre, I know, is one of them.
Yeah.
What has that was? I don't want to say is it a surprise because that's a bad way to phrase it because you see him each and every day. But what has he done since he's gotten here to prove his worth?
Well, I know because he works with Jones full time. So he's a sprinter for Jones. So like I'm always seeing things from the outside, which is actually an interesting perspective to have on this because like, in the fall you have all the guys, I was a sprinter myself, so I kind of look over in the fall and see them running and I'm like, okay, let's see who's got it, who doesn't have it. And like from day one you could tell like, okay, like he's feeling it out, but he's got something here. And he just kept his trajectory just going, he's eating, like you look over in the weight room and he's working with our strength coaches and he's killing it. Like you look over at Jones and like he has no freshman fear of like having to be behind anybody. And there's some great people in that group, right? He's running reps against Shane Ashton, who was a regional level guy in the 400 hurdles. Like, Xavier Preston won freshman of the year 2 years ago, and he's watching Xavier Preston. He's just like, oh, well, if that's what won it, why not just do that? So it's just fun to just watch that, and especially in the 400, like, we have our TV in our office has our conference championship 400 in there. I look over and watch it, and he's, Parker Hewitt from UNI is a tremendous, tremendous athlete, and he's won it before, and Andre didn't care. Like he took it out, he ran his race, and like was like, yeah, no, like I know this guy's ran fast, but like I've also ran fast. Like, why can't I win this? And just went out there and won it. And it's great to see that. Somebody like Nadir Langston, who works with Jones and Marshall as a short hurdler, came in as a very similar kind of freshman, but the hurdles get higher for the short hurdlers. But a couple of years ago, when Xavier won indoor freshman of the year, Jaden Robertson won it outdoors. Jaden scored like 3 points indoors, 18.5 outdoors. I'm thinking Nadir's somebody that like you could see the same kind of thing with, where the freshmen sometimes pick it up the first indoor or outdoor, kind of something like that. But I think Andre's one of those guys that just from indoor on is just going to be at this just high watermark.
Look, I know it's somewhat of a rotation basis in terms of who gets an opportunity to host the championship meet, and it's a lot of work that goes into it, more than just as we get close into it approaching. But what it means to be able to host
that's huge.
And how you guys and of course both teams just want to put on not just a great show to have an opportunity to win a championship, but to really represent SIU in a high way, and knowing that when other teams come in here, they want to see the facility and everything as top-notch shape. Yeah,
so last time I was here, I was on the other end of it. Like we're sitting at the Comfort Inn down the road, my boss is scoring out the meet, and he's just like, well, we were seated 1, 2, 3 in the long jump that year, I believe, in the women's side. He's like, oh, like we can score this many that points. I'll go around. I'm like, there's no way we go 1, 2, 3. I know we have the 3 top marks, but like, that's not going to happen. And I remember we scored out the meet and looked at it afterwards. SIU was plus 50 points. Like they, you ask, JC or you ask Jones about it, like those guys will tell you like, oh yeah, they showed up at that meet and it was just like nonstop, just home runs. And it kind of happens every year with the host team. And I hope I'm not jinxing it. Knock on wood. I know there's wood somewhere.
I should have brought in some wood in here.
This is made out of wood. It's real sturdy. That's it. But yeah, that's a Thursday Goose joke. But I think that there's just something special about hosting it, right? Like not only are they staying in their dorms and their friends are out here, they'll be at their finals week, so there won't be as many of the surrounding students here, but like they'll feel this. It's something special when you host it. And it's something that like we're excited to do. I know it's a whole lot of work. I mean, the list of things that Art Ashbrook's a head official in this area for a lot of stuff, and Art's so many places. And he comes to our facility, and it's like, you got to get some sand here, and you got to do this, and all these things, and we have to make sure that we have a facility like worthy of hosting it. But in some ways, this is the most worthy facility of hosting it in the entire conference. You look at our throws area, like every throws coach in the country looks at that and they just want it. Like there's 5 rings where you can throw. We can throw disc and hammer at the same time and 2 shot puts. And javelin's over here on this other end as well. And I think that making it'll be nice. It'll be interesting to see because it was a COVID year, so there wasn't any spectators.
Yeah.
But there were parents that realized if they drove their RVs and they parked along the far end of the parking lot, they could see over the fence. So I'm hoping that we have enough seating and there's enough like around there. But even then, you couldn't have tell. You couldn't have tell that was a no spectator thing just because there's just so much energy to it. And we're definitely excited. I feel pretty comfortable with that. I feel like our group has, our team has taken on a lot of, like an onus of responsibility of like protecting the house, if that makes sense. Yeah. Knowing that everybody's coming in and try to do as much as they can and understanding where we're at in the process, like what a successful meet for us will be. And it'll be, get as many of those medals and trophies as we can and try to get the larger one, but making sure that, like, if you're sprinting at somebody, if you're running distance, if you're throwing, if you're jumping at somebody from SIU, you're in another school, you feel like you're in our house. You feel like you're on the road. Like, there's for championships, it's nice to be the host team. I remember softball hosted last year, right? And they won all of it?
Yes. 2
Yes.
years ago.
Okay.
Last year was at Illinois State.
Okay, yeah. So 2 years ago, I was out here I watched part of that, and it was like the energy there felt like the biggest home game of the season. And I hope that's what we have, and I feel like that's what we have. I mean, when we host meets indoors, it feels like that. So an outdoor championship where we're kind of in there, if we're healthy and we are rolling well at that point, I think we'll be in a really good spot. And the support of the community always helps as well. If we can get people cheering for us, I mean, we're doing our best to not only make it a good facility for the competitors, but also to have a lot of music or like make sure the video boards are all working and make sure it's very spectator solid as well.
No question. It's always a fun time. It's a great event. There's so much talent, as you said, and not just here in Carbondale, but if you want to see high-level track and field talent, I mean, it is no doubt worth the time, and hopefully the monsoon and the rain is out of the way.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so.
Yes.
I remember 4 years ago when it was here, like it was misty one day, and then the next day it was like 75 and honey, and sunny and fast and hot and everything, and you're just like, oh, this is awesome. So,
75 and honey. Yeah.
Hot and sunny right there. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's because we're recording this at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, right?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly why. Doing this really in the late hours.
Yeah,
it's okay. Coach
hardest
Bryce.
working guy in the building is Luke Martin.
Yeah, I did. Everyone knows that. That is not true. We could say that, Jake. Jake, appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
I know we didn't get to your NFL mock draft picks.
That's all right.
Here, and I mean, if anyone wants to know when will the Coach Bryson mock draft 2.0, 3.0, whatever, when will that come out? I mean,
my first round mock will come out Friday.
Okay.
After the first round's done,
yeah,
I'll go 32 for 32. It's just so tough to actually do a mock draft without having real insight. Because you're going as people that talk to people and staffs, and the trades make it impossible. But should be fun though.
Everyone's starting to get a glimpse of what it's like when we see each other in the hall.
I know.
So that's what's great. I'm glad I could take this from the hallway and actually corral you here.
Yeah.
at 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning, yeah. I even quoted Happy Gilmore as well. No Caddyshack quotes this time, but
no, yes. That's okay. We'll get that the next time.
Absolutely,
We'll get closer. Jake, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Luke. Thank you for having me.
Once again, that was Jake Bryson. We'll come back with more here on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Polly Eyes of Carbondale. Hard to believe that it's already championship time for golf as head coach Rory Weinfurter for Saluki Women's Golf joins us. Coach, great to have you. Is it hard for even you to believe that year one, here we are. We caught up with you way back in the fall when you had all of this in front of you. Now here you are with the championship meet this weekend. What's it like with this group headed into the week?
Yeah, I mean, we've had felt like a long spring, but then we're, already here at the championship. I'm very excited for this group that I have going to conference. I think it'll be, really good vibes, for lack of a better word. Got both my seniors traveling, which I'm excited about, and I just think, a lot of them do have experience playing the golf course that we're going to play. So I think it'll be, still learning experience for us. I think we've, played in some really good tournaments this spring. We've been tested really hard on our mental game, shot making, making smart decisions. And I think, I'm very positive that it's all going to come together at the championship this weekend. So.
Before we had you on, Rory, we were going through and typically this is a climate and an area where you can get outside a little bit quicker than even most northern schools. The weather this year has just been all over the place. How has that impacted when you've been here, when you've been home? I mean, how many days have you and your girls been able to consistently get out?
Yeah, I mean, we've been lucky that some of the travelers, we've been traveling to great weather while some of the girls at home have had to deal with the rain and being in indoor practice. And we were indoors a lot at the beginning of the year, which wasn't ideal, but definitely tested me as a coach, figuring things out where, what works for them indoors, what doesn't work, what can we do to get better indoors with, what we have, and just trying to figure out things like that. And it hasn't been ideal, but they've all had a really great attitude about it, which I appreciate. And, me just trying to keep that same attitude and reminding them that even though we're indoors, there's always a chance to get better. It may not be that we're always practicing, but, it's just something that we have to live with, and we have to deal with that adversity. And they've been really helpful and great with it, and also just helping me kind of understand what they're used to and what works for them in the past. So, it's not ideal, but it's been something that we've made work, and it's been really great to see that too from the girls.
When you talk to coaches, and especially those who have been so experienced and tenured, when you ask them, hey, what do you remember about your journey? They always typically go back to either their very first job, their very first year, and within that first year they go, I really think of those seniors my first time as a coach.
Yeah.
What about your two seniors have really impacted you this year and that you're going to remember most, and what you're going to be most appreciative about what they've done?
Yeah. I mean, they've, obviously been through a few coaches in their 4 years, and I just appreciate their patience with me and their willingness to help. They work really hard. I mean, they're out there, before practice, after practice, on off days, and I think, that's definitely something I'm going to be remembering from them, and they've been really helpful with me this season, kind of leading me into what works for the team, what doesn't work for the team. They have a little bit more of an inside scoop than I do, so I, try to ask them as much as I can. Does this work? Do we like this? What are some things that we can do as a team that, maybe I haven't been doing, that the girls would appreciate? And I just think that, their hard work doesn't go unnoticed by their teammates either. And it's brought, a really good vibe to the team, and, kind of push people to work a little bit harder and, hold each other accountable, and, wanting to see those results for the team, even if they may not be playing all the time.
Yeah.
So, that's something that I really appreciate from them, and it's been great to work with them. And I wanted to make this last year a really good year for them, and so I'm excited to have them be at conference and be there for the team and support the team just with all the experience that they have. So they've definitely been a huge help this semester.
Of course, talk about Morgan and Kylie, and what do you want them to take most pride in about how they're setting a tone for your tenure here?
Yeah.
And where you communicate with them once this weekend is over, what will you tell them of, hey, when you look back at this program, this is where your prints and your impact on the program will be felt?
Yeah, I know. Obviously, I want them to feel that they did improve with golf this year, whether it was, score-wise, mentally, physically, whatever it might be. But I think the main thing that I would want them to look back and see is that they had a good year, they had a fun year. They had the opportunity and the resources to get better and go out and play in these amazing tournaments and, have fun on the trips as well and do all these things. And I just, hope they look back and they're, proud to be a Saluki, proud to tell people, hey, I graduated from Southern Illinois and I had a great time my last year or all 4 years, whatever it might be. And just be really happy with what they've done, what they had the opportunity to do, and, just have a great experience with their team, the team aspect of it as well.
So when you look towards this weekend, again, Sunday will be day one. It will go through Tuesday of early next week. Just what challenges does that course in Waterloo, Illinois present, what you're looking forward to with your team, and kind of your message to them this week before you head out for the championship?
Yeah, I know it's been a test in the past from what I've heard and just what I've, been able to look at about the golf course. I think the rough is going to be a bit of a challenge for us because we haven't played in super thick rough. Been trying to emulate that in practice this week. But my message is, I want them to have fun. All I ask them to do is give me 100% every day at every tournament. And if we go out there and, the results are what we want, or if they're maybe not what we want or what we want to live up to, then, they know that they've given 100%. They've done everything they can to put up a good score. But also, I just want them to, support their teammates, have fun. I have some fun dinner plans that we're going to do outside of golf, and just make it a really good conference experience, which I'm excited for. And I think we can do it. I think any team can win, and I'm always going to be thinking that way, and that's what I want them to think as well. So
you have competed at this level, and you know what it takes to win in a conference tournament and a championship, and then ultimately to get to where you want to take this thing, which is back to an NCAA regional. What are the things that you lean on from your playing experience that you're really trying to help them know, look, doesn't really matter what's happened to this point. Right now it's all about how you can execute from Sunday through Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, it takes definitely a lot of mental toughness. I always remind them of, patience. Like, things are going to fall. Maybe they haven't been falling for us this whole semester, but we've put up, some under 300 scores, even if it was just for a day. It's something that we can do and are capable of doing and have done in the past. And even if some of the finishes, I always go back to, as far as like this year goes, I always go back to our Iowa tournament, a Big Ten tournament. We're competing in with some really good teams. At one point, we were top 5 in the leaderboard. We may not have finished top 5, but we were up there and we were competing. And it is possible for us to do that, and especially with teams, that are in our conference, that are same caliber as us. We know we can compete with them. So I always remind them, go back to the little things, and that's kind of what I had to do as a player, too, when we won a conference championship. It's hanging on to those little things that, tell us that we can do this, and it is possible for us, and the hard work's going to pay off, and it gets probably annoying me telling them to have patience all the time, but it works, and I believe it works, and, I have to have that patience, too, and I want them to know that, and I try to remind them of that, too. So, I think it's just those culmination of things that eventually, that will come together for us this weekend.
And no doubt it is patience, the mental toughness, but also, Roy, right, have fun.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly.
the whole point of the championship. It is a time of the year where let it loose, go have fun, and you know what? Sometimes that could set you up for a really memorable week.
Exactly. And you just have to remember, it's just golf sometimes. It feels like
Yes.
it's more than that, but it's just golf. It's something that you wanted to come here and do, you love doing, so, yeah.
Rory, really appreciate the time. Congratulations on year one. No, it's not over with yet. There's still more work to do early in the next week. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, we'll take a timeout. That was Coach Weinfurther joining us as they are in the MVC Championships. And that will be starting on Sunday through Tuesday in Waterloo, Illinois. We'll take a timeout. We got more coming up. This is Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Polly Eyes of Carbondale. We missed her on Tuesdays, but you know what? She's been busy this week playing a whole lot of softball, sweeping the Sycamores on Sunday, and then playing Missouri State on Tuesday with a win in a midweek, and then, of course, Mizzou and a big win last night. Coach Sewell joins us. Coach, thanks for coming on the show here on Thursday here, especially on short notice. What a week. I know it was a lot of hanging around, seeing if you can get a field ready to play. I guess that's probably where we should start first and foremost, is just tip to the cap to your grounds crew for just getting that field in any way, shape, or form. Not just ready for the doubleheader Sunday, but they did all they could do on Friday and Saturday as well.
Yeah, I think we were prepping as of we got word Monday that it wasn't going to go real nice over the weekend, so we started drying that field out pretty quickly and trying to figure out what to do. But yeah, between definitely Katie Gerlach's staff and our grounds here on campus, I mean, right up to game time, drying that field out, and it took our players, our staff, and our crew to really get that field ready. But it was important, in this league, you want to get as many games in as possible. So.
Yeah, and no doubt your group did, and be able to win those. Before we get to the games against Missouri State and Mizzou, just on the doubleheader day, again, wasn't great field conditions, but you got to find a way to grit through. What did your team do well on Sunday to win both games?
Yeah, I think it's just another example of our toughness in different environments. Had not really played just a wet, gloomy game like that in a long. We'd played in sort of the cold, but not really. That was wet. It got cold. It got breezy in the middle of the game. I thought our pitching staff did a great job of just keeping us on. Anything we gave up, never went for anything big. Kept everybody on first base. Offensively, it's a tough hitting environment. I thought we took advantage kind of running the bases on them, and pitching just kept us in the game, and defensively played well despite, a really wet ball at times.
Tuesday against Missouri State, we were on the air against SEMO, so didn't get a chance to watch the game, but when you look at the numbers, we were ironically during the middle of a baseball broadcast the last time you had Missouri State on too, and that was a game and a team where you had a big lead and it started to slip. And you're up 6-0. They get 3 runs back, yet your team finds a way to close out that game the other night. What it meant for your group that kind of had experience of letting a lead slip against Missouri State, yet you don't let that happen on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's a difference in two teams. What we were doing at the beginning of the year was sort of giving that lead up, and then now we're sort of settled down in that environment. They're playing at a neutral site right now, which was very new to us, playing over at Drury's Field while their stadium gets renovated. So I was proud of us for just showing up we knew nothing about what we were getting into other than what we had heard. And, they have done a great job with that field to get it ready for most state. But, again, showing up to environment, didn't know a lot about it, played well right from the beginning. I did not believe we were going to completely shut them out. And late in the game started to kind of come at us, and I thought, came right out in the 6th and 7th and just shut it down. One big hit for them, scored all 3 runs, and then after that, just closed it out.
We have talked so much this year, Coach, on how your pitching you knew maybe coming into the year was, one, trying to get it healthy at the start. I know Mac was really just trying to get to at least as close to 100% early. You were shifting around, seeing where everyone would go. Man, not to say that the Mizzou game encapsulizes everything of where you're at, but Dahlstrom was outstanding. You knew that she coming in as a freshman too was going to be someone that could really impact, as well as Gibson. What have you seen from really your young pitchers now being able to thrive when you put them out there?
Yeah, I think yeah, freshmen are always funny because I don't think they know what they're doing sometimes. And it really works in their favor. Like, obviously, they know how to pitch, but they don't know that they're about to go out in front of an SEC crowd. They just go out and they don't have any experience, they don't have any negative experience. So for her to go out there and just shove in those first 4 innings was really impressive. I thought she really took advantage of what she was good at instead of trying to be somebody else. And I thought she jammed him up real nice and then had an effective curveball. Didn't really establish her changeup. It didn't have to. And I was a little worried about that SEC strike zone isn't unforgiving. And I wanted to see her pitch, 1 to 2 times through. And I thought, we went out, I think we had a visit in the second or third, and I said, hey, I want to see you make an adjustment here. And I'm going to leave you out here, and I want you to adjust it. And she was like, I thought she came right back and made some really quality pitches. I don't think we ever planned to go 3 times through with her. We actually did not plan to get Mac up and anything but 6 outs, but you get that lead, and then Mac's like, hey, hand me the ball. I got this. Let's close this out. So
To have someone like Mac, when she goes, hey, give me the ball, I'm good. Like that, not that everybody wants to feel like they do have that somebody. And I think in ways there are always those players that are like, hey, give me the ball, but then there's not always that 100% confidence level. For you to have that, when she goes, I want the ball, I don't think there's any debate. You know that she's ready for it.
Yeah, and I think you saw her A game come right in after that. I know in her heart of hearts she has it for the SEC because she has 2 other wins in her career. And I think her adrenaline really helped in that moment. And we had a conversation before the game. This is not going to be something we are going to sacrifice the weekend series for. So if we can get within 6 outs, we may bring you. But if we don't, we're probably going to try to use the staff tonight. And she was okay with that. But when Williams hit that homer, and she turned around to me, and I was like, hey, and it was a sprint to the bullpen to go and get ready. It really is for her something that she's had experience in. And I think it was fun to watch for the other staff just to see her go out there and dial it in.
Talked about Emily Williams. I mean, she's been someone we've had on the show. We've spotlighted her already. Just the bat that she has packed, it has looked like over these last couple of weeks that she's also getting healthier too. Just a lot of positives here. She's one of the main reasons why this team is getting better.
Yeah, and I think everybody wanted to see, we know what you've dominated in the past. Can you take it to the SEC? And the best part about it is she struck out big in a couple. We probably had 4 or 5 through the first time through, and she got down in that at bat and then just hammered a pitch up in the zone. And that's the strides that kid has taken in the last 2 or 3 weeks, is really been able to have a short memory and then build a plan. I think before she was worrying about what she couldn't do, and now she's very confident in what she can do. And a swing and a miss could be followed by an outright blast. So,
looking towards Bradley this weekend, they have always been a very scrappy opponent. And you even look at them this year, they've gone on the road and they took 2 or 3 from Northern Iowa. So that alone says everything you need to know about the potential that this team has. What's impressed you about Bradley this year?
Yeah, that trickles down from their head coach, who's now getting established, I think. She was a competitor when she pitched, and you can see that sort of rolling. Their staff's done a great job rolling into their mindset now. I think they've started to up their schedule as well, so they're experiencing some better teams, so the road is not scary to them. And I think they've gotten deep in the pitching staff, and they've got some hitters there that can punch the ball out, and they're dynamic on offense. So I think for us, Bradley has been an interesting run in the past for us. A lot of times we traded like home and aways with them. Like if we were home, we got the series. And if they, it's been a very interesting ride for them. They've had a hard time establishing like a home environment. I've had 2 or 3 different parks since I've been. So I think it's for them, the new coaching staff, really settling them down and having like, here's who we are and this is what we do. So
for your group, and we're going to have Anna Carter coming up here on the show in just a bit. And Anna's always been someone for me from afar when you think of just – you can tell from just your seat in the stands, when you're watching the game on TV, or even through listening to Trude's voice and how he describes Anna's personality coming out in a game, you can tell that's someone who is just really fun to be around and just has a really light soul, old soul, whatever the way you want to describe it. What have you enjoyed most about being able to coach someone like her?
Well, I think she's a loose player, and every clubhouse needs one, but she's a competitor too. And I think she uses both sides of that in the game and in the bullpen. So she can loosen up a pitcher and sort of say, hey, we're good, we got this. And she can come in behind the coaching staff. You know, sometimes you get your butt chewed on the mound, and she can come sweeping in and say, hey, listen to what she's saying, get the message, and then let's get on with it. We're good, and kind of, you know, pat on the back and get everybody going. I think offensively, she just instills confidence and is off to one of the hottest starts we've seen, you know, by a player, and just an important lefty power bat to us, and has really done, between her and Emily Williams, has just kept us behind Jackie Lewis, just kept that rolling, her and Erin Lee as well. So you'll get the looseness, but you also get a competitor out of it. That kid wants to win.
When you think of the makeup of this team, and last year, and look, I think whenever anyone, and a lot of fans like to get into this, and even broadcasters to that standpoint too, of, hey, compare, contrast, and take teams from different eras or teams even from years apart. I don't think that's always fair, and I say that as I ask you this question. But as you get to this, you're 21-3 in your last 24 games. Last year, there was no question. Maddie did an outstanding job pitching. Depth outside of that at times could be a question. Now it looks like you're pitching. There's more depth this year.
Yep.
Your offense is coming around. I don't want to pose a question of, because there's still a lot of experience in big games that your group last year had, and it showed come conference term. But do you like where your group is trending, and in terms of the makeup that this group has?
Yeah, I think it's just taken, and I was talking to Eric Lopez last night, texting back and forth, and he said, what is the difference? And he's a broadcaster as well. And I said, it's literally taking a team of transfers and transfer out, transfer in, and then that elevation of the next class into the, hey, you're now the ones, you know. And what this program has done is kids stick around in it, they don't leave, and they allow themselves to be developed and become the next class. And then now we can combine that with some key transfers and fill in the pieces of the pie and let them run with it too. But I think it took till probably April 1st to blend that in the blender, right? We just, and throw in the tough schedule on top of that. And it was, I mean, it was at times just taking a beating from the outside, but we never felt that on the inside. I can't tell you how many times, and we talked about this before, there were times we felt 12-1, but we were 1-12.
Yeah.
We never really took it to the point where we were just beat up mentally. We felt like we were in games. I think now we're just winning those games. So
Before I let you go, Coach Sewell, we talked about with Coach Rhodes, and you know, really just a sad day yesterday when everyone learned about the passing of Dennis Rotchen, who, of course, is just a huge fixture in not just Saluki baseball and being part of the Hill gang, but I know there's a lot of things he did for Saluki softball, Saluki athletics in general, obviously the community through Vogler Ford. Just kind of when you found out, of course, you've been competing here these last couple days, and I know you had a game yesterday, just what all he did for the softball program and how that doesn't go unrecognized by not just yourself, but even your players. And they know what that last name, what the Rotchen family has meant.
well, and I think, you know, that was one of the first families I met when I came here almost 17 seasons ago. You know, John and the Vogler family and Dennis had taken care of us forever, you know, not just through cars and things like that, but just a good man, a good family man. a very humble guy, always just kind of in the background.
Yes.
You know, he always provided resources and things like that, but always just in the background attending fundraisers and games and things like that. And just another guy from this community, just a great Saluki family, you know. And for him to be at a baseball game, you know, and the best part about it is he's going to get to see all the games that he wants now. So,
Yeah.
you know, just a good, humble guy and a family man. And the whole family were dedicated Salukis. And, you know, I do wish them just peace and comfort. And I hope that it was an easy transition. But he was a prominent member, always there, taking care of, you know, not just us, but all of Saluki athletics.
Well, and as you mentioned, a man that was really in the background. It
Yep.
wasn't that he was out waving the flag and wanting everything that he does to be necessarily public and
Yes.
recognized, but how important those type of fixtures are, because there is so much that happens within your program day to day, or little things that even maybe I don't see that the common fan can see. But those small things intertwine that
Yep.
maybe even sometimes that you have to be reminded, like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Dennis helped out with that.
Him and Dennis, you know, John and Dennis were always like, hey, is there anything you need? What can we do? Can we do better? And it's just, it's a tough loss for just Salukis, you know. He's just a good guy, and he was at every game. That family attended every sport, you know.
Yes.
And I'm hoping, you know, all the daughters and the sons and all that, just everybody had a tie here. So just a family that was really maroon from the inside out. So.
No question about that. Continuing to think of them, I know, through a really tough time
Yeah.
for them as well this week. Coach Sill, appreciate the time. Good luck this weekend against Bradley, and looking forward to making our way out and seeing you play this week.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm head coach Chin Sill. When we come back, Anna Carter joins us from Saluki Softball. Well, we just described this personality with head coach Jin Sewell being able to join us here on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by our friends at Poly Eyes of Carbondale. To close out the show, we had to bring the big personality, Anna Carter. Anna, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm nervous.
Well,
but-
hey, can't be nervous after last night.
True.
What a win and what a stretch this group has been on. You know, it's been an area on this show that we have talked about with your teammates, Coach Sewell. The tough schedule, no doubt, to start when you're 1-12, I think it was, through the first 13 games, to now 21-3 over the last 24. How is this group just continuing to come together and form at the most important time of the year as you're getting towards the end, Anna?
Yeah, I think you described it well. I think in the beginning it was a bit of like a building stage, you know what I mean? We're still figuring things out, and like if we played Mizzou in the beginning of the year, I don't think we would have beat them, but now things are really coming together. We're putting pieces together. We're figuring out the way that we play best, and yeah, and I think now it's all coming together, and I think it's coming together at the right time too, where the tournament's coming up, and yeah, I'm really excited. I think we have a great shot at this, and I think we can do it.
Anna, when you're a part of a team that has so much success, and look, there is no debate where you talk with Mike Trude and others, you all do a great job of not just verbally explain, but just show up to Charlotte West Stadium and look at the walls. You see the banners, you see the championships, you know what the standard is. And yet when you start 1-12, I know that had to be very frustrating, yet you're a great personality. You bring that attitude each and every day. What did you do during those days to make sure that, I know these results are not what we're used to and it's not the expectation, but look, it's February. It's early March. There's still a lot of softball in front of us.
Yeah, I think you just have to keep staying optimistic. Like this game, it changes it every day. Anybody can beat anybody. We showed that yesterday. And yeah, like I think we just really needed to stay together as a team. Like we couldn't get discouraged and let our record reflect like how we feel, you know what I mean? I wasn't worried. Like yes, we were losing these games, but we did have a really tough schedule. And I think that from those games we learned a lot. And now we know how to we're better prepared for tougher games and in tight situations. We know that we can come back and yeah, and I think now, since because of all those games and all that adversity that we faced in the beginning of the year, that now we know we can get through it. And yeah, I think it was just really staying positive, really playing our game, and yeah, getting through it. But now we're good, and
Yeah,
so.
but teams can go one way or the other, Anna. And
Mhm.
what do you believe about the locker room when it comes to all of you as teammates, the genuine appreciation, the genuine love that you have for one another? What made it go this way instead of it could have gone the other way? I mean, it very easily could, man, these results are not what we wanted. Like, this is not what was guaranteed yet. No, all of you stuck together. What is it about this group day to day that keeps you together?
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, it is so easy when you're in that position to just be like, well, that's how this year is going to go. It's easy to just hang up your hat and be like, well, we had a good couple years, we had a good run, and this isn't our year. We lost a bunch of people, and we're a whole new team. And yes, it could have been so easy to do that, but as a team, I knew we did not want to give up. I didn't want to give up on us at all. I knew we could still do this. This is a long season. This is a long season that we
Yeah.
play. We play a ton of games, and so we can't let that beginning of the year define us. But I think this group of girls really sh- shows how well we know each other. Like really have each other's backs. I think that's the most important part about a team is, I mean, yeah, you can have the best athletes, you can have the best group of athletes, but if they don't get along, if they're not playing for each other, then it's not going to work out. And I think that was what we really needed to I think that was what we really needed to get going, was like we needed to realize we're all here for each other. We're playing for each other, and once you get that, and once you have that mindset, like I'm not here for myself, I'm here for my team, then anything can happen. And we really showed that. I think the locker room is a huge part of like your mindset. When you're with these girls to want like, oh, it feels like
A
oh my
long time.
gosh, it is. It's crazy. And then I go home and I'm with three of my teammates, which I love, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But when you're just around each other so much, you really get that. You really get that feeling of camaraderie, and the love for each other that we have is so big. We have so much love for each other, and yeah, I think that is what comes first. I think we're friends first and teammates second, and I think that's what's really important, is because you want to play for your friends, and you want to cheer them on, just things like that. Mick is one of my best friends. Like, I live with her, and so every time she does something amazing, it warms my heart. Same for Jackie and Aaron. They're my roommates. They're like, I love seeing them do amazing things. It's also really important. Like, if I'm having an off day, I know that they're going to be the ones to pick me up. And yeah, so I think it's just amazing what we have as a team, where we really cheer for each other. And no matter who's in, I think we all have 100% confidence in them to get the job done.
I don't know if you can always necessarily not we talked about this with Coach Saluki, and if her conversation was, it's not so much necessarily comparing years or comparing teams, but 23 and 24 seasons for you, Anna, were different in terms of, also different for the teams of 24, kind of the dominant team all year round. You hold true at the end. 23, there was a lot of adversity that year, a lot of injuries, and went through a stretch there late in the season where there were a lot of tough losses before the conference tournament. yet when it mattered most, you found a way at Charlotte West to win that tournament. Take me back to 2023. Is there anything within those struggles of that time where players in and out, injuries, you being a consistent force that helped you weather an early storm this year to try to get this team back to know that, hey, that experience in 2023 helped me here in 2025?
Yes, definitely. And I'm so glad that I have that experience now because because freshman year, yeah, I was a consistent, like I was consistently playing, and yes, it was we were good, and then we did go through a rough patch there, but I think having that experience to this year let me know, like, hey, we're gonna be fine. Like we can, it, things happen, teams ebb and flow, and things are gonna happen. But yeah, I think that really helped, and I'm glad that I have that experience now because compared to freshman season, I was just a freshman. I was there. I didn't have any expectations at all. Like I was there having fun, and then we did end up winning it. But now, since I have these 2 years, I'm a leader now, which is
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's surreal that now I'm the people that I used to look up to. Like I used to look up to my juniors and seniors when I was a freshman, like Riley and Elizabeth Bailey. But now I'm the ones that they look up to, which does not feel real. I feel like I shouldn't be in that position at all. But I'm glad for it now, and I'm glad that I can go and help these freshmen. I can help like KT and Emma Gibson when they're on the mound. I'm with them the most, and help them on the mound and calm them down and things like that, even though I'm not such a calming I'm not the most calm person ever, but like when I need to be, I can, and I can talk them down, and it's because I've had those experiences. I've had people do that to me and come and calm me down in big situations like that. But no, yeah, these past 2 years have been great experiences, and even I think when you go through the hard patches, that stuff, I think you learn the most from that. You can't learn the most valuable lessons from just everything
Yeah.
coming easy. So, yeah, I think that really helped with this year because I've been through, I've been through worse, and we've gotten through worse. So it was nothing.
To build off of what you were just describing, your personality a bit, and whether being able to calm some teammates down, even if you think you may not be fit for that role, but so many can describe you in hey, very lighthearted. You can bring that kind of looseness to a dugout. But when it is time to be a competitor and lock in, you have that ability. Is that a hard balance at all, or is that really easy for you to have that both sides of the personality? Know when you can bring some lightness to it, but also there's no fooling Anna Carter. You know when it's a big count. You know when it's a big at bat. You know when it's a big moment in a game to get everybody locked in.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think my lightheartedness obviously just comes so easy to me, and I have to stay that way for my sake, for my sanity, or I will go insane. I cannot take this too seriously. But I think I can really turn it on when others need it, most, like when they need somebody to talk to, or we either need a talking down or a hyping up. I don't know. I don't want to brag on myself at all. I hate that. But I think I'm pretty good at like reading what the situation needs. Like if a pitcher or somebody going up to bat like either needs to be like hyped, they need a confidence boost or something, or like I'm going to use an example because yesterday in the game against Mizzou, KT struggled just a little bit there in the beginning, but who wouldn't? You're a freshman going up against SEC team, like that's a big deal. And so in that moment, you kind of need to like calm her down and be like, hey, you got this. You warmed up great. I know what you can do. and I have 100% confidence in you. You know what I mean? And then Mac, on the other hand, coming in, you got to switch gears because she has that experience under her belt, but she just needs that push.
Yeah.
Matt came in, I was like, we need 9 outs from you right here, right now. Like, let's do it. Let's get this done. We're winning. We got this. And so, yeah, I think it depends on the situation, and I hope I'm good at reading and I hope I'm good at knowing what they need, but because I try my best to do that. But yeah, I think that's a good virtue to have, because you can't be serious all the time, and you also can't be super nonchalant all the time.
Well, and especially when you have so many games, I think it really emphasizes that even more of when there needs to be a looseness to it. It's not like football where you only have one game a week and you only get 11 of them, right? I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to go through it. Well, you look towards this weekend. Back at home, Charlotte West is, until you're a part of that environment and get to be there, you really don't necessarily get to feel the energy that all of you get to feel when you're here. Just what it means to be at home against the team in Bradley, who at times this year, they took 2 or 3 from Northern Iowa. You've been around the block in this league. You got to take everybody very seriously because this league is more than capable of really turning it on its head every weekend.
Absolutely. You cannot take any team for granted. No matter what the rankings are, you can't take any team for granted, because especially when you're in the number 1 spot like we are right now, people are going to up their game and they're going to put their best out there for you. So we can't take any games off, really. But no, I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for Bradley. I love being at home. There's nothing better than being at Charlotte West, honestly. I think going back to freshman year, I think that was the main reason why we won. We were at home, we were comfortable, and it felt good, it felt right. So yeah, I love being at home. You're in your dugout that you're in every single day of your life, it feels like. But, I'm excited. I'm excited for Bradley. I hope we can get a good sweep in there. But, yeah.
And, of course, you don't have to rib this guy a little bit, but I'm just glad that you were still able to perform at a high level, even though Trude took your original seat on the bus.
Yes, I know. So, I wasn't going to bring anything up. I didn't want to step on it.
He is a loyal watch, love mine.
Yes.
He watches every show, and he's always locked in, but I got to rib him a little bit, every day. So the fact that he was in Anna Carter's seat on the bus, and you were very kind to just, I
was going to let it slide. He is. He's our number 1 fan. I love Mike, too. I mean, super fan, number 1. He was in the dugout with us yesterday, and cool. Just what an amazing energy to have. He was hyping us up, giving me high fives. He gave me a hug after game. I was like, this is awesome. Why can't we have you in the dugout every time, Mike?
Hey, he's the hype man during football when we're in the press box together in the booth. He is a blessing to be around, and you are too, Anna Carter. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and congrats to you and the team. I know there's a lot of softball left. You're taking it seriously. I know you know that, but this is a heck of a turnaround, and you made so many proud in Saluki Nation. I know excited for the rest of the year. Thanks for coming on the show, Anna.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Once again, that was Anna Carter, and that does it for Inside Saluki Athletics today. Big thank you to a long list of those who joined us. Be sure to enjoy the weekend of Saluki Athletics, everybody.
This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Paulie Eyes of Carbondale. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.